Welcome to Slacker Moto Radio with Brad and Addison. Based out of the Pacific Northwest, we're talking motorcycles and the motorcycle community, and we're excited to have this hour with you. Here we go. Hey, Brad, guess what?
What?
We are flipping back.
Woohoo! It has been too long.
It's been too long. I've heard it. I'm hearing it, and I would say that I'm tired of hearing it, but we deserve it. So we apologize. At least I do. I don't know. Speak for yourself, dude. I apologize.
Apologizes.
But I am stoked to be back. We've got a whole bunch. I don't want to overinflate. We've got a handful of things here in the hopper right now that we will add to this episode. This is going to be a normal length, but jam-packed full of stuff because it's been a while. There's a lot to go over, a lot to talk about, and stuff that we alluded to before that we did do. We just haven't released. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm glad to finally talk to you again. I feel like, man, we spoke more during COVID than right now. Although I guess, are we still in COVID?
I think so. Yeah.
Technically, we're just doing better, I think is the right way to state that. I don't know.
Things are opened up, right? I guess.
That's what I mean. A lot more is opened up. We could be talking to each other a lot more, yet we're doing it a lot less. Because that's probably why, man. Work, day job got crazy. But nonetheless, that's no excuse. I'm sorry. And we are back.
Yes. And what episode is this?
This is a big one. Like a really big one. Like
5?
Like a novel one that most, I'm not going to inflate us that way either, but I think a lot of people don't make it this far, and we almost didn't either. You know,
why was this so tough to hit this one?
I think, I'll be honest. I put a little pressure in my head of how big this should be and how cool it should be. In fact, I think I've talked about it, so I apologize because I don't know that it'll be everything we said it was. But this is the big century, man. This is number 100.
100!
We have now recorded 100 episodes of our dumb faces talking about motorcycles to a bunch of people that probably don't care. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, I don't think they know what our faces look like, so it's okay. It really is. Does 100 include our prequel episodes? I know this is more for me and you, where we were trying to figure out what we were doing.
I think we have 5 or 6 quote-unquote lost episodes or whatever we want to call them. That being said, a handful of them are on the Patreon account, and that has also fallen back. Not that it matters because nobody's paying for it, but, they are there if somebody wants to buy a month and then get their, and then quit afterwards. You can listen to 5. I think we only have 2 of them on there, 2 fresh episodes and a handful of posts. We kind of pushed that Patreon and realized that this isn't a business, and we are doing this because we love it.
Yeah, we just enjoy visiting with one another. We might as well be recording it, and so everybody else can laugh at us too. Yeah,
if we find out, that everybody would like to support us, great, and Patreon is there, and we have an account. But I'm not gonna. I don't know. It got a little shameless on the Patreon plug at the end of every episode, so I gave up because I'd rather just talk bikes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what has been new for you with bikes? Like your bike. What have you been doing? It's been so long. So what have you done?
Been a minute and a half at least. I don't even remember where we're at this point. I have gotten a handful of things done, actually. So my bike, normal service, I ride, do a handful of rides. We have had a couple of good group rides out in the area with even outside of just, our local usual gang. We've had a handful of listeners join. We've had a handful of new riders kind of join the group. I've been posting a lot on Facebook. So, I'll already start with that shameless plug that make sure to join our Facebook group because that has been active despite the podcast not. So if you were missing us, you could have joined us. You could have listened to us and followed us there. So in the future, remember, when we ghost you, you can still find us on Facebook. But yeah, so we've had a handful of good rides up through, there's a great loop up here, Klickitat, still one of the kind of hidden loops, although it's getting more busy. We've done the airport tour, but I think we talked about that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we've done a couple of coast rides. I'm trying to think. A couple of rides up through Mount St. Helens. There's been a handful of rides that we've really picked up a lot of new new riders that have joined the group and participated a bit with the conversation and helped everybody grow and build at least our local community here. If we've been lazy about the global community we've tried to create, we've at least helped build our local one. So that's been really fun. Otherwise, I am making crazy good progress on the JT1
Ooh,
build. I have
nice.
gotten everything polished, painted, set up. I now have the entire front suspension and rear suspension rebuilt and assembled. Basically, I need to install the fully rebuilt engine and then bodywork. And that bike is 100% done and ready to go. So
Ooh, the body work can take a while, though. I mean, how
it
rough
can.
is it?
It's not terrible. It'll be likely a Saturday per, a weekend per piece. So, fuel tank, fenders will be, that's 2 in 1 basically. So that'll all be joined in one weekend. I'm still probably a couple months out from being ready to kick it out the door at the pace that, the weekend pace I'm running. But
Mhm.
it is looking clean and good and fresh brakes and fresh, fresh everything really. What couldn't be restored cleanly has been replaced with new old stock or completely rebuilt in house. So it's up and coming as a new bike, and I'm pretty stoked to tear it around the neighborhood a little bit, and we'll probably actually put that one up for sale. So I don't know that I
Ooh,
have a
cool.
need to hang on to that beyond a little bit of fun after it's done and make test rides, making sure it's good.
Okay, so we can get a little rowdy with that one. Maybe do a podcast on trashing it on a dirt bike trail. Good. Okay.
Why not? I mean, it is a little mini enduro. I think it'll kill it.
No, that's cool. So, what about the Gladiator? How's that been coming?
Gladiator's got a little bit of work, but that one's. I've realized I had all these little projects floating in the corner. I've rearranged the shop in a way that I can now focus on basically two builds at once. Kind of arranged all of my equipment so I can use it without having to move things around too much. But with all of that in the winter, I've also worked on kind of reducing my load of equipment. There's a handful of tools and things I just don't need that I've been selling off on the marketplace or whatever to neighbors and friends and things like that to just kind of get out so I can have the space to be highly productive. So that one's a little further along, but a lot of that's been low. Dennis has always been a good example of this, but he always told me that it's hard to wrench and ride, and that's kind of what I've found this year with COVID. There's been so much open road that I've spent more time riding than wrenching.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, I mean, I have not taken the time. I've got everything set up to do the KLR, and I'm just going. There's other things when it's nice right now, and I'm kind of behind the wagon anyway to be able to ride it much. This year, I've got the V Star, so I've been riding that with the Clicktat Loop, and also to the coast with you guys at least once. Been riding into work pretty regularly, and spending time with family, right? Going fishing, spending doing other things. So haven't done a lot there, but definitely involved. Been enjoying being on the road, and especially with the group. That was a great time when we were around at the Gleckatat Loop. I know we wanted to do a little bit of a recording on that, and it's just tough when you're out with the group and you want to maybe. I don't know. It's not like we want to do interviews in that way and make it awkward, but to be able to get people involved because some people want to be a part of the podcast, but how do you incorporate that? Right. I think that for me, like when we're out there and you're like, I've got my recorder, I'm going, how do I, without going around and being that guy that just is wanting to talk to everybody now, what do you think? And shoving it in their face. Right. So, I don't know. That's just what I was thinking about, but it was an awesome ride. Got to see and spend time with a bunch of great dudes from work and others that had friends, and you had a neighbor that joined us and others. And so I thought it was great. I thought it was really cool. First time kind of doing it with that size of a group and on a bike that I could kind of keep up with everybody on. So that was fun.
It was fun to have you on that. It's been a while since we've had a ride like that, so it was nice to have you come along. And I think we ended up having that was a pretty big group that day. The Klickitat Loop, I mean, it's not a huge loop, but that was one of those rides that had so many people that it definitely, took some time. Every stop was a little longer, and that's one of the kind of the nature of group rides. That if you have a handful of people, every stop, everything takes a bit longer. So we did that, but you're right. It is difficult in those situations, especially a ride situation where people want to be riding. It's hard to record too much of what's going on in that. We intended to have a lot more content, we'll call it, from that for episode 100. That was one of our, all right, we'll do this. And it ended up being just a very long day of riding and seeing some awesome roads and sights and spending time with friends that didn't end up with really
Yeah,
much, if
yeah.
any, content.
One wreck on the way, so it was a good reminder to ride within your own abilities.
Fortunately, not our group, just to clarify.
Yeah,
But
that's good clarification. And then it was the first day that the river had opened up, I guess, up there. So it was kind of busy, but it didn't seem that bad. Did it seem that bad to you? I mean, we had a few times that we were passing some cars, but not bad.
wasn't too bad. We started a little early. We definitely saw a lot more people going, the other way or whatnot as we were going. So I think we were, not the first one to the ride there, but we were definitely, early enough that we missed the rush.
And you could definitely tell that this was like people ready to be done, ready to start seeing uh, their colleagues, their peers, and others after all of this COVID time, being away from others or not being able to do this regularly because we're like, okay, we're going to stop here for a little bit, and then we'd be hanging out. Everybody'd strip, and we'd be visiting for a while, and it's like, okay, we're going to go up to the top, and we're just going to stop just for a minute to take pictures. Well, everybody except Dennis takes off all of their gear and is just doing the same thing that we had just done like 10 minutes. What was it? It wasn't even that long before that. So we're up at this top, this viewpoint, just to get a picture. We got some pretty good pictures with the V-Star as the centerpiece, and it was great. But there's only one person that's still fully geared up, and that was Dennis. Didn't even take his helmet off. He knew, the intent was just to stop there for a minute. And then we go just a little bit further. It wasn't that much farther, maybe another 15, 20 minutes. And then we were at that place that everybody had their burgers, and we got some fuel and kind of ended up splitting. So it's just like, I mean, it was a great trip. I mean, we visited for a while in Washougal. We went up there. It was just fun because it wasn't just about the ride, which is already a part that is critical that we all love, right? That's what we're all here. That's what we're talking about. But it was also the community aspect and how we all just wanted to be there and just be with great people that had their stories that they wanted to tell, people to listen and laugh and just enjoy being out there together and sharing this common interest.
Yep, I think that's a really good observation. That it ended up being a lot of conversation of everybody in the group, kind of getting to see each other again and spend that time on the bikes together. So maybe it's a good plug for people to get comms, so we can do more of that while we're riding. But nonetheless, it was fun.
For listening to music, didn't we have an episode on that?
Yeah, we did of why you would actually need comms, and so that episode. One of the rides that you hadn't participated with us, but we had a big group go down to the coast on one of our rides and do a little coastal ride. Is we actually ended up with, we've spoken about him before, and I think he'll appreciate the plug. But turns out Ryan has comms. And so we ended up connecting up, which became a very fun and irritating game because, the chicken hawk and I tend to talk on comms often anyway if we're on the same ride. And then Ryan shows up with the same comms, so I decided, kind of without anyone noticing, to link up, and then I could just switch back and forth without any warning, and just I think he was listening to music with his comms, as he likes to do, because that's the main reason for comms, and just immediately shut off his music and begin talking to him, and he had no way to disconnect me, and it might have been the greatest experience I've had in a long time with Ryan, to where I could just annoy him mercilessly, and there was very little he could do without pulling over and losing the group. So that was, for better or worse, maybe that's a plug against comms, but it was very fun and a new way to use comms that I found, incredibly rewarding, we'll call it.
Was he on the Hawk? I'm assuming he was on the Hawk.
No. He was on the V-Strom.
Oh.
He's got his own V-Strom.
What? I thought that he got this Hawk for this kind of stuff.
No, that's for, I think, to quote him, hardcore off-roading, but we may get a nasty email to clarify that. But I think
right now it's off-road just as much as my KLR is, right?
Yes, I think that's what happens.
Sorry, Ryan, had to talk about it.
So yeah, early on, we're 15 minutes in here, and Ryan, you're already called out. So we'll hear about this, but this is why we do it, really, to build that community. But no, aside from that, one of the things that was intended to be probably not an episode 100, but we will definitely include in here as well, is the opportunity we had, but ended up getting a adjunct co-host to go up and attend as one of the resident podcasts, the MotoAmerica in our area, and
Ooh,
that was a pretty cool experience. We ended up driving just due to the 120-degree heat that we were seeing in the Northwest. We can get into the specifics of that, but man, we had a heat wave. So we drove to benefit from the AC because riding home for 4 hours on Sunday in 120 degrees on the freeway just didn't seem fun.
wow. Yeah.
There's a few
Imagine that.
moments that I may actually wuss out. Turns out that's one of them. I decided that the driving was a better, at least a safer option coming back. But got a lot of fun little clips, fun little chats. But really, from what we'll get to hear, and we'll have a discussion here at the end, a little later on with some of this but got to talk to really 4, we'll call it 4 specific groups, and we'll fit them in where they make sense as we talk about them here in a minute. But was able to talk to one of the track schools that's run by a MotoAmerica racer, which is
Okay.
pretty cool discussion just regarding what their opportunity is from a track school perspective. A little different than a lot of the a track day or things like that you can do. This school had some cool options that we'll get into. Also got to speak with the rep from HJC Helmets, which was fun. I tend to be a proponent of HJC. I think that their bang for your buck is one of the better.
Did they give you a free helmet?
I did not get a free helmet. Got a lot of
Whoa!
advice. Got a lot of fun discussions on how on how they what he does for the race teams. It's pretty cool. We'll get into that, but as well, there's a glove jacket, basically a moto wear company, Taichi, which I had not really heard of. They choose not to go through kind of the big online outfitters, so have some information there, including a discount code for their equipment. So keep an eye out for that, because as we get into it, we will have that for everyone here. That is for all the listeners, confirmed that everybody gets the discount. So when we get into that, pay attention. We'll give you a discount code, and we'll also throw it again at the end of the episode. But probably my favorite moment of being able to have that media pass was a pretty cool, it was a little nonchalant, not really, as official of an interview as I'd like. But when it's 120 degrees, it's hard to get the riders out and sitting and putting themselves through that when they have to go compete in an hour. So I actually ended up running into and getting a chance to chat with Jake Gagne, who was the points leader this year and just a phenomenal rider. So we will talk a little bit more about that and add some clips from that in the podcast as well. But that was pretty cool, man. It was really one of the first times, we've gone to the one show, we've gone to some of these, ride at your own risk or play at your own pace events. But this was kind of a big official event that we had the opportunity to go and record and get some content and really have fun and enjoy. So that was a pretty cool, you were kind of asking what we've been doing. That was a pretty cool experience.
No, that's awesome. So, okay, so just for clarity here, it was my anniversary weekend, so it didn't really work out for me to attend with you. So who did you get to go with you?
You will hear snippets and basically background chatter from the chicken hawk.
No way! He
didn't take the reins, but we ended up driving up and staying in the area and ran through. Because of the heat, we just did the Saturday and Sunday. So some qualifiers in the morning, on Saturday, the end of qualifiers, and then the initial Heat 1 races. And then Sunday was just practice laps, and then the race 2. So we were there for both of that and the full day, both days, and we're able to, I mean, we can get into the specifics as to what that was. I think that's the bulk of our episode today. This is episode 100. We appreciate everybody hanging with us. And number 2, we got to go to MotoAmerica, so let's talk about it. So we got to spend 2 days with professional racers and their teams and the sponsors and just a myriad of people. MotoAmerica really treated us well. We were able to get some good parking, which really mattered when it was so hot as it was, and then help in not necessarily introduce, but give us some opportunities to have a few places to cool off and not necessarily be sitting out in the heat all day. But yeah, it was an excellent event despite the heat. But also, I think the heat added to some of the amazing racing that we saw.
Okay, so you got to be in the pits and you got to watch some of the races, I'm assuming.
So we could go anywhere. Obviously, any normal person could go, but we also did get to get behind the scenes in a couple 3 locations. That's about it, really. So let's take a step back. MotoAmerica, man, I couldn't believe how family friendly and or open and generous and nice it was. If you just pay to get tickets, if you show up with just, you don't need your media and all the stuff that we had. If you just show up with your normal ticket, you can walk through each team location. You can walk right by where they're working on the bikes, where the racers are going in and out of their trailers, where all the vendors, where all the support crew. You can walk to any of the stands as long as you're behind the fences and really do 90% of anything and everything that there is to see and do. It was pretty cool. I mean, how friendly you'll hear in our conversation with Jake Gagne, like a couple of dudes came walking up, younger guys that are going to do their first, they may have by now, but going to do their first track days, asking for tips. And it was just a couple of, 19, maybe they were younger than that. I got to assume at least 16 with licenses, but a couple of young guys that have little bikes, and we're going to do a track day up at the Ridge Motorsports Park, and asking him for some tips, which is pretty fun. We'll definitely share that as part of the whole interview. We'll share the whole thing, but it was fun to see how he kind of started with some advanced tips and maybe backed off a little bit with just be careful, don't override yourself kind of things. But I thought it was very, very cool that if you've done a track day or ridden for a number of years and understand what he was initially talking about, great tips, even for the experts to pick up in that. And it comes in a little, he was talking to someone else over because they stopped by looking for an autograph. So it wasn't necessarily talking into the mic at that point, but you can still hear it, and we'll include that because I think it's a pretty cool testament to how open and cool the whole event was. That the number one dude that has just been killing it this year, I mean, annihilating the competition, right? It's not like he's even keeping it close. Like he's gone and stays gone the entire race, most of these races.
Wow.
And, he's willing to come out and, and talk to us. But when somebody walks up, just, yeah, hey guys, what's going on? Well, what's happening to, any passerby, which I found very cool. I mean, I was really impressed with the friendly feel of the whole event. And that's, I guess, my big take a step back from everything and what MotoAmerica is doing for racing in America for motorcycles, as they're making it so approachable. And I thought that was really impressive.
No, that's really cool. So one of the things that I'm curious about that's in line with at least MotoAmerica and you being there as a media representative, how well represented was it by the media at this event? I mean, did you see any other podcast groups? Did you see anybody that you recognize? Like, what did it feel like? Did it feel like you were an elite? Obviously, it was very down to earth. The guy wasn't giving you preference over somebody else that was walking by. But I mean, how did it feel being there?
So for me, it was, it didn't feel too different. I mean, I think that everyone was pretty open to anyone else around. It wasn't anything that was, extremely touted or that gave too much preference to us within what we're doing. Our pass allowed us to get into the pits and to get kind of beyond the wall for good photos and things like that, if that's what we wanted to do. It gave a couple of little benefits, but realistically, it was just very friendly to everyone. There wasn't a huge presence from video and audio outside of what MotoAmerica itself is doing. So that was kind of one, very heavily covered from a photo news perspective and a written journalism perspective, but it doesn't seem like there was too much going on. Now I know, right, our announcers from MotoAmerica have, their own podcasts, and they're already having these discussions. So it is a thing that we can run with, outside of what we're doing more officially in the MotoAmerica realm. But it was definitely, definitely didn't see a lot of other people running around with recording equipment. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I mean, not that we have I know we have a lot, and we have to have our own like group carrying everything.
Oh,
so that's very obvious.
Yes, our groupies.
Yeah, to carry the one handheld recorder.
They help set up the stage and the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah, but okay, so but you got to be there, and it was crazy hot. So was the turnout good, even with the heat?
The turnout was very interesting, man.
Really?
It was definitely not what I expected. We'll put it that way. There was
okay. So everybody was wearing sweatshirts or something. I mean, I don't understand what that means. What does that mean?
You could reserve spots if you wanted to do that, right? There's general admission, or you could go ahead and pick a site and pay a little extra for that. And there was just basically a paper taped to your seat that said, "Hey, nobody can sit here because so and so has this either Saturday, Sunday, or both, right? Or Friday in certain cases, or somebody had done the whole weekend." A lot of those were left open throughout the days. So I think a lot of people decided, it's hot and I'll watch from home. And so I was impressed with how many people were still there from a number of people perspective, because it was, getting away from just the experience and how awesome it was to be up there in the heat of the races and chatting with these guys. By the end of the day, right at 5:00 on Saturday or 3:30 Sunday, it was hot, like dangerously hot, right? Sweat wasn't doing much for you because the wind's coming at you at 120 degrees, and it's still just as hot when it evaporates. I came home Sunday night somewhat sick. A little bit of heat exhaustion. I drank enough water that it wasn't anything bad, but I had chills and a fever, and it took me a few hours from sitting in my air-conditioned home to get back to the point that I wasn't just shot. After 2 days of sitting out there. So it was hot.
Now, how about the chicken hawk? How did he do?
He did better than I did from a long-term perspective, but by the end of each day we were done. Like, we were happy to be in the car, crank the AC, grab a couple of cold waters from the cooler, and and cool off, because it was hot. But that was one sentiment you'll hear in a lot of our content we have. At least a couple people mention it, but no one really expected the hottest race of the year to be, Seattle, Washington.
yeah, I can only imagine. One
of the things I'll post it. I've got a picture that I've shared with some of our more direct crew and group, but it's pretty cool. I have a picture from one of the racers that he shared with me of his rear tire after Saturdays, maybe Sundays. I'll clarify on the picture, so keep an eye on Facebook. But to look at how the rubber melted was pretty incredible. It was so hot that the tires were wearing a little different. It definitely was slimy. You could tell after a few laps that hitting corner paces and the way the track was acting was very different than what riders expected. In fact, early in the conversation with once we kind of got a little more personal with Jake, he mentioned some flaws that were coming up from the track that were changing the dynamics of specifically the chicane early on, that they would hit that, and it was just so hot that the road was changing, right? The tarmac of the track was causing some issues and breaking up and getting some loose spots because of the heat. It was cooking the tarmac. I mean, they had mentioned a couple times that on the tarmac was over 130, which makes sense, right? Black tarmac, 115 degree day, 120 degree day, it's going to be hotter. But it was, those guys out there, 16 laps, 14 laps, depending on which class you're running. I mean, that's a friggin' hot day on a bike, going, no matter how fast you're going.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I just found the picture that you'd shared with our chat group at work, and that tire just looks nuts. I've never seen a tire that looks like it has scales on it.
Yeah, and that's kind of, usually you'll get the globs and the melted rubber on the corners and all of that, but it was, on the straights and coming into the corners, they, even for racing tires, they were worn. Dunlop is the tire manufacturer that supports MotoAmerica, and they definitely had their work cut out for them to pick the right compound and keep track of that and support these teams. They were swapping tires like you wouldn't believe, trying a couple of different compounds, really working hard. You watch the teams. That was really fun, and you didn't right. Anybody could have done this. If you ever go to a MotoAmerica race, I highly recommend spending time down in the team areas. They pull out their workspaces are just big tents with open wall, right, open air windows, basically.
Sure.
Coming off of their trailers, and you can watch them working on the bikes and swapping tires and cleaning parts, and if it's damaged, pulling plastic and replacing and all the work that they do, changing oil after each race or at least after every couple races, and watching the big guys, right? The team Yamaha guys that are doing all their work, or Ducati, or the guys from the elite of the elite, right? From the superbike class. It's pretty impressive to see the amount of work they do, especially when it was 115 friggin' degrees. Like watching some of these teams. I didn't get an interview with him, and I wish I had. He was just working so hard, there was no way. There was one guy, and I never picked up his name. He was Italian, lo and behold, on the Ducati team. Because I chatted with him for a hot second just to but thank him for being so positive. He was smiling and working his butt off. I didn't see him stop the entire day, either day. Just hustling, working so hard to get that bike ready in between races. And it was on Baz's team for Ducati. Was it Ducati New York? And but he was just so happy to be there and just smiling ear to ear and just working his butt off in this heat. And I was impressed. It was fun to walk through these teams and see the effort and love they have for the sport.
Wow. Yeah, I can't even imagine. That's really cool. You guys got the opportunity to go and do that and experience it. And I just can't even imagine. It sounds too hot. That sounds crazy.
When we get, kind of transition to some of the conversations we had, we do talk a little bit about that with the HJC guy. So it's interesting that he was here, to support the teams. I found that pretty interesting as well as we get into some of the specifics that we talked about or got to see. He wasn't there to hawk helmets or gear or any of that. He had nothing for sale, nothing available to purchase. He was literally there swapping visor tear-offs for each of the teams that used HJC helmets. And at a couple of moments, guys that were having trouble with their non-HJC equipment, and he was helping make it work. And he literally just goes there to support the teams because obviously, they're happy to have that, that moniker on their title that so-and-so wears an HJC helmet, so on and so forth, right? A number of the riders do, and you can tell by just looking at their pictures what helmets they're running. But
proudly used by riders on the
exactly.
MotoAmerica.
But he was one of the bigger sales reps in the nation, and he comes to these just so he can support the teams and hang out. And it was pretty cool. We just sat and had a conversation. It wasn't about sales, but we do get into a little bit of that, right? What helmets are good for, what are they using in the race here? What are we using when?
Whoa! You got you. What does he ride?
Oh, we did get into that a little bit. We'll have to listen into the conversation because we did get into a little bit of riding. And he's from California, enjoys riding, but very much, from what I understand, a daytime and fair weather rider, which I guess makes some sense if you're in California. That's most of the days of the year. So good for him.
Okay.
Fair weather's hard to pull off as much if you're in the Northwest because we get a lot of rain. But nonetheless, we got into that a little bit, but we talked a lot about, with these riders being 115 degrees, right? What helmets do they use and they keep them cool in this kind of heat? What experience is he having with these riders? What does he have with customers that maybe struggle? We got a little bit into outsourced, not outsourced, but third-party licensing. Because you can buy a Harley Davidson branded helmet or a Yamaha branded helmet that that is not made by Harley or Yamaha or name your favorite company or licensed product. The original helmet, may be an HJC, it may be somebody else. But in this conversation, we're talking about specifically those. But some of the difficulties in helping with warranty or issues with those helmets that may come up from worn out parts or things like that have to then be sourced from the licensing entity because if it's custom colored and custom made specifically for them, it's not through the HAC normal routes. And so it was just very interesting. Definitely listen in here. We'll play this clip, but interesting to hear a little bit of the ins and outs of the helmet world, right? More than just go pick your favorite helmet, try one on and buy it. But if we listen in here, we'll learn a lot more about exactly, what
does he talk about comms as well being built into them, and whether that's something that's just for the race side or for civilian use as well, or did you guys discuss
from a race perspective? It's not there. It's just that's just not the case. So we didn't get into it there. We did talk a little bit about the built-in comms and how that functions, and that's kind of how we got into the licensing conversation. Is that all those Senna units are put into the HAC helmets. It's this weird game of who actually covers different issues. They can get difficult.
And we're going to get into that.
His warning on the conversation is that be patient, because it may not be as clear as my HAC helmet has an issue with its Senna inputs. So if one of them can't help and points in the other direction, sometimes you just gotta pick up a screwdriver and figure it out. If it's not completely faulty and it's just kind of a concern, sometimes neither company can really do too much because of that license partnership. And it was just very real talk.
I'd rather just personally use a hammer or a high-powered rifle or something like that when I want to take my aggression out, because that really does make me feel better.
No,
but to your own, if you want to use the screwdriver, okay.
It was as you'll hear here, it's a pretty good conversation. It's pretty real. It's not not one of those canned messages for sales that we hear from a lot of the vendors we've talked to at previous events. So it's worth a quick listen here. So what's the tape for? And maybe you can't tell me, but
no, everybody does. It just helps it keep nice and firm in place, and then
so it's
also
not flapping up in the wind.
Yeah. Also, when you pull one, then it will kind of help keep.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people have a hard time installing these on their helmets. Like I was trying to do, every now and then I'll help my buddies with their helmets. I just did a rye and it was horrible.
Sucks.
I don't know if it was the wrong tear off or what, but it just didn't fit right. And then this kid named Maziotti needed help with his AGV, and the pins were just really shitty. The posts, I just couldn't get them to sit where I wanted them to. I like working on ours the most for sure.
Probably pretty used to it by now.
Well, it's just out of the other ones I've worked on, it seems like it's the most. It's the easiest.
I've had the best results with HJC pin lock, or their use of the pin lock, I guess, to be more specific.
I've never tried one in another brand.
Yeah, I started with Built, which is my own fault, really. But
Well, that's you start cheap.
That's a house brand.
Yeah, I know.
Cycle gear, right?
Yeah. And not the good one, because they now have even one that they tout to be okay.
What brand's that?
Sedici.
That one's okay?
I've got a couple things that are Sedici, not too bad.
Okay.
Got a jacket, it's nice.
You got that new jacket? That actually.
I have gloves. My glove. Although trying on
what about those track gloves
the
like
Tachi over there, it was like, oh crap, man, these they're Sedici. They're a little rough. Trying those on, there's a difference.
One of our shooters just came out with a house brand. I can't remember what it's called. It was just it's just a cheap brand.
I know. I mean, between HAC and the other companies, I've seen I think Strength and Steel. I've seen show up on the Yamaha house brand for a while, and you guys all kind of will manufacture for others from time to time.
Oh well, yeah. We actually make a lot of because we own our own manufacturing facility. Yep, we do make a lot of other brands.
Yeah.
But then you'll have Harley, Yamaha did this. A few companies, they just Harley's notorious for this. They're we like that, make it for us, but it's branded as Harley. It's more expensive.
Yep.
The warranty is usually a third of what our warranty is.
I think I'm the one that convinced me to go HJC.
Well, you did.
I've been a fan. You get so many features for so much lower price.
Yeah.
I mean, the pin lock is a great example.
Well, and I wanted
the base model friggin' helmets have pin lock.
Comms.
Yeah, you got the built-in comms. That's nice.
They're not technically built in. It's
they're
just
not, but
the helmet's made for
right,
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's partnered with Senna, right? Senna makes the specific HJC version.
Yeah,
that now goes
that's
in.
called Smart HJC.
Yeah.
If you call Senna troubleshooting it, they won't help you.
Really?
They just want you to call HJC, which is our office, and we have literally 5 people in our office.
In fairness, it's a good partner.
You give this to the receptionist.
So, and the funny thing is like,
Then don't do
if you call
comms.
our office, like the people answering the phone are like myself and then the other guy that comes to the races. So it's not, you're not calling to like a customer service. You're not calling a customer service
Right.
department. You're just calling.
You just call it the office for HJC.
Yeah, you're talking to marketing and race services people.
No, I do like my center comms in the back. You know, screws up into the back
Yep.
of the helmet. I like that.
I love when people like.
So surgical.
So we do everything we can to make people happy. If it's not in our, because we don't do the warranties ourselves. We don't import the helmets ourselves, so we don't sell anything out of office. We don't have helmets and accessories.
Right.
So if people call pissed off, like, hey, I can't get this right now, and right now with like helmet sales in general, it's like, fuck, man, manufacturing is insane. Like, everybody, like, we're out of cheap pads and shields and stuff, and like dealers are having a hard time keeping like anything on their shelves. And our distributors are ordering a ton more than they normally order. So it's not like it's not like we're not like producing them fast enough. We're producing them way more and way faster than we've ever had.
That's still not enough.
And it's just not enough. So it's a good problem to have. People will call and they'll get pissed because it's like, look, like we don't import this stuff. Like I don't know when it's coming in. I don't know what dealers even have anything. They're like, you don't know who sells your product. I'm like, we have a dealer locator, but I don't have an inventory database where I can be like, hey, this is here. And they're always like, well, I can't find anywhere, so I figured I'd just come straight to you. And then when you're like, we can't do anything about it, and they're like, so I think that you don't take care of your customers, shit like that. It's like, man, I can't do anything about it. So it's just, there's funny stuff like that. I had one guy who had a Harley helmet, and he called and I was like, hey, if you buy any accessories for this model, it's going to fit your model. But Harley, their interior is a different color.
Sure. Orange.
And so he was furious at us because our interior that fit that helmet was a different color. And I was like, dude, legally our distributors cannot import Harley stuff. They're not allowed
That's
to.
a Harley thing, yeah.
So and they're like, well, you're the manufacturer. It comes from your factory. You can get it for me. I'm like, no, I can't. Only Harley can. So it's funny when like people call
but there are customers that just aren't going to be happy.
Yeah, and I know that.
Unless you absolutely give them exactly.
But I'm not.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do.
Well, they're only that mad because Harley already gave him the finger.
Harley gives. I mean, I don't want Harley. They give me the finger all the time.
They're already like, nothing we can do. Call HJC.
I went in there for one service and I haven't been back, and I've never bought anything from them either.
Sounds like most bikes I've ever owned.
I worked for Xerox for 36 years, and we were out of. Somebody placed a big order for printers, and they wanted like 60, and I'm like, they were delayed from the ship because the parts we needed is coming from freaking Japan. I'm like, where are they? Well, they are on the ship. Well, when are they going to arrive? I can tell you they're going to arrive in Long Beach, but I can't do till they're arriving, right? He was so pissed. You get that, you get that ship in the dock right away. Ma'am, I have nothing to do with the order of the ship docking at the Long Beach, pier.
And I lived in Long Beach when everything was really backed up, and you just see, you can see the ports off the
They're just
distance,
lined up.
and it was just ships for miles.
Lined up. I know. There's nothing I can do, man.
Crazy.
I need that right away. I want to talk to your supervisor. I said, thank you.
Well, if you do that at our
Thank you.
office, if you do that at our office, I'll hand it to Robert, and Robert will hand it to me.
Back off. Well, I'm just happy that I would talk to my supervisor because get her out of my case.
It's a little janky, but I think it's going to work good enough. At least get him through a hot lap in case he gets a bug on it.
No, but beyond this, I mean, it was fun to talk to HJC. One of the other companies we got to get in touch with was, as mentioned before, Taichi, which is a Japanese equipment, right? Moto clothes company. And they've, based on the conversation, and you'll hear this again in this next interview, our next discussion, really, none of these are really one-on-one. That was what I kind of enjoyed, the candidness of these conversations, is they weren't, canned message interviews for the most part. It was, let's chat. Here's a microphone in between us, but let's have a real conversation. And it's pretty similar here, that they kind of position themselves with Alpenstar and some of these bigger brands, but have chosen just within their policy or within their sales, plan to not go through some of the big guys, right? Your Revzillas and your Cycle Gears and these things, they don't sell through them. They've decided to kind of sell their own way, which, better or worse, call it what it is. They did, however, have a few things for sale and available there, which I could try on. And I'll tell you, it was pretty good stuff. I tried on some gloves, tried on a jacket, despite it being 115 degrees, and quite honestly, everything felt pretty high quality. So I was pretty impressed with their gear.
Wow.
I mean,
did they give you something for
so
free?
we didn't get anything for free. I can tell you right now, they did give us and everyone that listens a discount code. And this goes to the end of the month, so it's a July-only discount code. That being said, I guarantee, or I don't guarantee, but it should go beyond that. My guess is it'll go well into the end of the season based on conversation. But officially, it's a July code, and the code is Hector, because that's their driver. Hector. So I recommend everybody, if you're interested in gear, gloves, jackets, whatever it may be, you can take that.
99% off.
Yeah, it's not quite that high, but I believe it's a pretty good. I mean, it's a discount.
Okay, I mean, I'm just teasing around, but okay, cool.
I'm trying to remember. I believe this is a 15%. I'd hate to be misquoted on that. I should have rechecked. But
so you only have to pay 15%.
Go check.
No, that's good.
Check it out. Check out their stuff. It's definitely Japanese made. That was the big thing he mentioned. You'll hear that here in the interview, but you'll also notice, or I also noticed when I tried on some of the gear that it was, a little. Actually, I tried on the XL gloves, which is what I usually wear, and they fit really well. So he kind of mentioned that it's Japanese cut, right? It's kind of more for that kind of body type, or the generic. They do that with helmets and gear, kind of give it a spot that kind of lets you decide if it's your size. They've got sizing charts, so you'll be able to make out, whether it's the right size or for you. But it fit great. So I really, although he mentioned that, it didn't seem to have a problem on me, and I am definitely not a small person. So
are you saying the Japanese are small?
Generally, I think so. I think that was what he was trying to imply, is that it's for, maybe thinner than I. I think he was trying just not to call me fat. Okay. And you'll hear in the interview I called myself out, so it's all good. But it fit fine for me. And the site, right? I went to XL, which is what I generally put on for something that I would think might be small. And it fit great. So I recommend it. It was definitely high equipment. I'm actually
$50 for a pair of gloves, $100, $200.
It depends how extreme you want to go. So they had some short gauntlet racing gloves that I was actually summer style, right? It's all leather, but some good mesh air breathing spots. Obviously, being that hot, that's what I was looking at, is what's going to work when I go to California here in a month, and it's hotter than heck. What's going to be a good choice? They fit really well, and they seem to breathe pretty well, even without the airflow. And they were, I believe it was $49 without the discount. So, and they're lower cost options than that. These were, fully armored. These weren't the, put them on to go push a dirt bike around, right? I know you can get those cloth dirt bike gloves and whatever from all of these manufacturers. These were pretty good ones. So, they've got anything for your price point, but it did seem to be on par with anything I've tried on. I didn't get any long-term use or anything, so take it for what it is. But it does seem to be on par with some of the bigger brands, some of the Alpenstars and some of these higher end companies. So, I believe what he said. It looked to be good quality. They had a good option there to look at. Check it out. Don't forget, that discount code Hector will save you money if you're looking at gloves anyway, and they're the same price as the Alpenstars. Save some cash. So I thought that was cool that we were able to kind of get a discount code there that anybody, if you went to the race and talked to him, you'd get the same one. But he's like, dude, share it with everybody. So here we are. But check it out. This one's a short conversation, but definitely has some good info on some gear that I didn't know really about. I'll be honest. Till that conversation, I didn't even know existed. So something worth checking out if you're looking for gear.
Well, we're mostly known for our racing gear. But I brought the street gear out to show people it exists.
Okay.
It's Japanese, super high quality stuff, and we like to support the sport. So we got a lot of riders out here for this.
So,
Can I pull this off?
Yeah, go ahead.
where would you guys compare yourself kind of in the market with some of the more common
Alpine Stars.
Okay, up with the Alpine, the big guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
We just have terrible marketing because I'm in charge of it and I suck at it.
I doubt that, then.
I'm learning.
Some of it's
slowly.
probably, I mean, the big box stores push who they push.
Well, that's the big deal. Is we refused to sell through Revzilla early.
Exactly.
And
so you understood.
A lot of companies get marketing through them because they're powerhouse.
Yep.
You know? So people haven't heard of us, and it's hard to become well known.
So would you consider a comparison?
I didn't even notice it was a hoodie.
Is there, is there something that sets you guys apart from some of these other guys, or just a good alternative?
Biggest thing is fit.
Okay.
It's very narrow, and a lot of guys that, like, if you're skinny, you haven't had a jacket that ever fits you well.
That's fair. I have the opposite problem.
Yeah, me too. So
I put an Alpazar on. I'm like, it would be nice if they took out the gut a bit.
Yeah. But you can tell they're actually riders, and
Nice.
build the stuff to ride in, not just to wear.
Cool. Thank you.
But if you like that Tokyo style, then it's for you.
The Tokyo Drift gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, one of the other conversations we had as well within the options there, and we're just kind of throwing these in line. I know in the breaks here, Brad and I are laughing about this, but it's not. Maybe the transitions could be better, but here we are. We got these cool interviews, and we don't want to not share them.
Well, everybody thought it was fine until you said that.
That's
anyway.
fair. I like to call myself out all the time. You guys know that by now. But
you already said you're fat. I thought you looked good, but anyway.
Appreciate that. But had a brief conversation on some track schools. We actually went and looked at a handful of, obviously anybody that does one or is affiliated with one had a flyer or something to give out. But one of the track schools was pretty cool. We had a good chat. It's not long. By the time we kind of began recording, he was talking with a lot of people, and by the time I can get a little one-on-one chat before he had to run off and do the sales pitch, basically, to someone else. This was one of those moments, didn't get a ton of time, but got a little info. But this is a pretty cool track company. Listen in for all the details here, because I don't want to butcher it by saying it myself here, so listen in. But we were able to get some information on what they do, and really what one of their cool features is you can purchase a weekend package to where they provide the bike, the gear, the everything you need, and you can show up to any track that they're doing a track day. And although it's not cheap, if you really think about the experience, it's also not ridiculous for what you do, right?
Okay, I'm going to take a gander. $800.
A little more than that. It's definitely in the up higher than $1,000. Yep. So we're talking. It depends on the track, depends on the event, right? Some are cheaper than others. You find the place you want to go. But if you were looking to ride, one of the places I've always wanted to visit is the Barber Motorsports Park. They've got a track there at the museum. Just outside is one. MotoAmerica races there every year, but it's a pretty cool track and a pretty awesome museum. So if you were going to go make a weekend of an experience there and also ride the track, you could, right? They'd show up, they'd have your gear, they'd have a bike, a brand new BMW S1000RR looking ready for you to go.
Ooh.
And it's not like they're giving you, an R3 or a Ninja 300. You're getting a professional race bike ready to go on.
Okay, so with the expectation that you have experience riding a bike, riding something of that size as well,
I don't think because it's a school, there's not much of an expectation. No.
So is this like a 3-day school?
Correct. So, well, it depends. Again, it depends on which one you do, which weekend you look at. It's not necessarily the simple. Everything's the same. So, right, some tracks they'll do a 2-day weekend. Some of them, I think a few of them, if I remember correctly, and have to pull it up here. A few of them were just for a single day at a track, which is significantly less expensive and easier to manage there. Some of them were 3 days. They even do international tracks from time to time. So if you keep track of what they're doing, that you could do a track in Europe or Asia, or, we kind of got into that they'll do international track days and you can fly out and have that international experience. And if, the majority of everyone there maybe speaks a different language, they will actually begin to provide translators and such that everybody can participate and have that experience. So it really seemed like what they offer is kind of a pretty cool niche track experience that is above and beyond a track day, right?
If you like Beamers.
Well, I guess that's fair. That being said, they are pretty amazing bikes. Knowing that Rob rides one and having never seen anybody ride like that in my life, I have to say that they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they're pretty cool. It's a pretty cool opportunity. I think that it was something that that I didn't necessarily know was a full on thing, that you could go and just have everything you needed to run a track day and a weekend or whatever, and do everything you wanted. So, I think it's a pretty cool opportunity. No, we don't have a discount code or anything like that, but it's worth checking out. All the details are here. So, listen up. It's just a fun, quick interview, but I thought it was an interesting opportunity. And there may be other track days that do it. Again, we have no affiliation or discount or any reason to necessarily pick them, other than we got to chat with them for a minute. But it was pretty cool to see that these opportunities exist. That if you really want to ride track and you don't have the bike or don't have the means to get your bike to the location, or you don't want to do your local track anymore and you want to go somewhere a little more unique or crazy,
spend a bunch of money.
I mean, you can. If you've got the money, the opportunity exists for any of us. So, and it's not cheap, but it's not stupid money, right? It's not, you're not buying a Ferrari.
It sounds like a great opportunity, especially if you were traveling somewhere that you just want to go somewhere random. You want to get there. You don't have to ride there. You want to be able to do some event while you're there. Maybe it's some side shoot event that you get to do when you're on this week-long adventure with your spouse or on your honeymoon. I'm sure they'll go over well. Then you could also do this and ride a BMW. I think it's a great opportunity. So,
well, in any case, the recording turned out a little iffy, but nonetheless, check out the California Superbike School. A pretty cool group, and I recommend you take a look at it, especially if you're looking at riding somewhere that's not where you live. It's a pretty cool opportunity. Now, outside of all this, my favorite conversation that I had the whole time was definitely with Jake Gagne. Just because, right, if you don't follow MotoAmerica, you may not know who he is. But if you follow, guaranteed you know who he is. He's been competing and within the leader group for a couple of years now, but this year just dominating. And was walking by, kind of just watching them work on the Yamahas, the R1s that they've got for his team there, for the Yamaha team. And, he comes popping out of the trailer. And so it was just, I could not ask to chat with him for a minute. And I couldn't believe how chill the guy was. I mean, this was on Sunday and he had just annihilated the competition on Saturday. Basically just run away with it after being the top qualifying, he started pole from top qualifying time, but just barely above Baz on the Ducati team. So there was a bit of a concern there. And I think Baz was a bit frustrated with it, but the way that he rides, the intelligence that he takes his track time with. I mean, you watch him ride and he's got all of his braking points. He's got every single point mapped out. And you can see almost the wheels turn as he's looking at the next point and beyond, and riding just so quickly. I mean, it's just ridiculous how quickly he puts, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds on the rest of the crew and just then maintains. It's one thing to lead the group, but it's another thing to just kind of be running your own race ahead of the group when everyone else is fighting behind you. And that's really what both races were. I know a lot of races throughout the season. Again, if you watch MotoAmerica, you've seen it. And then to just pull him aside and have a quick conversation. It was just, ask him how the weather, how he was dealing with the heat. You'll get kind of all of his answers here, but what he's thinking about it, and we get a little bit of info on the track that really no one else had told. We talked to a few people without being able to record, and had mentioned, obviously everybody mentioned the heat issue, and that no one expected. I've already said it once, but no one expected Seattle to be the hottest race of the year, and similar sentiment from him. But he gets into real specifics on issues on the track, and it was pretty cool to just, he basically sat down and laid it out, and he didn't have a ton of time. He had a friend in that was about to go do a ride along. They were doing that at the lunch break kind of they had a couple of 2-up bikes available, and he had, I guess, somebody stop in to visit that was about to go do a ride along on one of those, so he was going to go watch. So we didn't have infinite time with him by any means, but the fact that he took a minute between running to go do what he was doing and chat with us was really cool, and how down to earth he was. I was impressed, and quite honestly, with all of the riders, I was able to at least quickly get a hey, how's it going with, and teams. It was just shocking how down to earth everybody was, and I think that this conversation here really locks that in and proves the point that the MotoAmerica is really doing a good thing to make racing in America accessible again.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
It's pretty cool. Enjoy this one. I know I did. Just the conversation itself, it's kind of fun to chat with somebody that is so far above my skill set that I don't think that no matter how much I try, I will never make. I can't catch up to that ever. So pretty cool conversation here.
It's pretty brutal. Yeah. It's like, when you're out there and like driving and you're race, it's hard to think about it. Especially doing that like
You're like, get me off this.
That was so impressive yesterday.
Thank you.
That was just.
We got up to
Well,
a couple first laps.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the first time you've done that, though. No, it's
Trying to make
not.
it happen,
It's consistent. Yeah, it's consistent.
It'll be tough. These guys will be coming for you today, so we'll have to make sure we
That was
stay
fun
on
to
it.
watch.
Thank you.
Really fun.
Well, yeah. I don't know. So, do you keep a pretty close eye of making sure you continue to move forward? I noticed that once they catch it, yeah, you look at the pit board, and it looks like
if I see like +2, then I know. If I got a couple seconds, I
Yeah,
can
you
just
can relax
get
a
in a
little.
rhythm,
Yeah.
and you don't have to kind of block the, ride a defensive line and stuff
Sure.
like that. So,
run your own air, fresh air.
yeah, fresh air is good.
I can only imagine not breathing everybody's
That
exhaust.
was fun.
But
How you feeling? Was that
Good,
heat
good.
just brutal?
Yeah,
Just freaking brutal. It's going to be worse today.
yeah, I know.
But everybody's in the
But
same heat.
we even raced at 2 today. Yesterday we raced at 4.
Yeah.
So like the heat
We were
keeps
excited
building
for
until
that.
4 or 5.
We were excited for that early.
Better.
We're not staying for the junior. Once
Oh,
you're done,
okay.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're just here for your guys' race that we're out here.
Yeah, there's something
Don't
to
tell
that.
them that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell them that. We were talking to a young guy over there. Oh, yeah, we don't race till 3. It's like, yeah,
It's just gonna get worse.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
But yeah, that was fun.
House with a TV, I'll watch it then.
Yeah, right.
That was fun yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
It looked like you
Where'd you
kinda
guys
had-
watch from?
You were game. Oh, we were up
Up
at
on
the
the
top.
Yeah, up top.
You just see so much of the track from up there. You don't see the straight, but you get all that. So
Yeah.
it's not bad. This track. Do you love this track?
It's awesome. Yeah, it really is.
The elevation
All
and all
those
that.
elevations.
Yeah,
It's tough too,
which is all right.
doesn't give you a
Coming in
break.
13 on. I mean,
No
some
big
tight
long
corners.
straightaways.
Yeah.
Yeah, some really like that one's really tight.
The one on the top. Yeah.
There's a lot of first gear turns here actually, probably more than any other place. Usually we don't use first gear a whole
Right,
lot.
right.
Now, how do you feel about the upgrades? I know last year this place wasn't the same.
Yeah, they did a
it's
great job.
100%,
They did a great job. Yeah, I mean, it's so hot this weekend though. Like if you go look at turn 1 and 2, the asphalt's actually kind of breaking up because it's new.
Oh, really?
So like I
Oh,
heard some
wow.
guys in the Superbike race talking about it yesterday. So
Interesting.
Wow.
keep an eye out over there. It might be exciting.
Yeah.
So he's got a track day here in August.
Uh-huh.
So like, what are your tips? Because he's never ridden this track before. And he can't when they do track days like tomorrow, he can't be here.
Yeah, it's you just got to get like the right reference point because there's a lot of blind stuff. It's just gonna take its laps. And, with the new place, I always just try to stay relaxed, not like push anything, but kind of keep your eyes up and look for as many like brake markers and stuff as you can. Because here it is a little weird. There's stuff that's a lot of stuff's kind of blind. So once you figure out where you got to be,
And it's like it's elevated. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's like so when you kind of go up over some of the hills, that's when it's kind of blind. Like if you go up the big hill by the grandstands and you tip it right, you got to find that spot. To
Yeah,
tip
everybody's
in,
that you just full on. I mean, you're catching air over that hill.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it
It's
looks
pretty
like.
crazy.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
You're coming off that top. And then this downhill over here looks sketchy as hell.
Oh,
Right
yeah,
before the straight?
Sharp,
Yeah.
yeah.
That looks sketchy.
It is. It's like a little mini corkscrew.
Yeah.
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 Through surface.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's got a little more grip than last year. It's a little faster, smoother for sure. Like I was just saying, in turn 1 and 2, that's so hot. The asphalt's actually starting to break up now. So it's kind of getting interesting in there.
Interesting.
But,
That's into the chicane.
yeah, right in turn 1 and 2. If you look right at the apex, you kind of see it. you can see it breaking up.
Yeah,
It's not
cracking
very
up.
smooth. Like I heard guys
That'd be
yesterday in the
interesting.
superbike race, if they were behind somebody, they could kind of little pebbles popping up, just because it just breaks out a little bit. But they did a good job.
It's going to be
really
hotter
smooth.
today. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who thought Seattle would be the hottest race of the year?
What's that?
Who thought Seattle would be the hottest race of the year?
I mean,
Nobody.
this is like
This is
record-breaking for you,
75.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're from the area. Yeah,
Yes.
Last time
we're just
get
as shocked
100
as you are.
Does it get triple digits like in the middle of summer or not?
Once or twice.
For maybe a
you
week
might
at
break
best.
100 once or twice
Yeah.
a year.
This is weird.
Late August.
Yeah, this will probably
Yeah,
be our hottest
late
race of the year. So.
I think
Usually
I
it's
think
like
it
we
will.
come here and just hope it doesn't rain, right?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks guys.
We're
My
looking forward to
girlfriend's
watching.
about to go on the back
Yeah.
of Forage, so I'm gonna go. I need to go check her out.
You better
Or
go,
hold on
you
to
better
that
go
thing.
help.
You know what? Josh is here.
And yeah, that really rounds out all of the chats we were able to have, which is probably, given the fact of how hot it was and how much everybody was either working their butts off or hiding in the air conditioning of their units, right? Everybody kind of had their truck or their trailer or whatever, depending on the amount of money each team brought with them, right? Because some of them were straight up RVs and some of them were, the double decker semi trailer that has everything and anything you'd ever want. So each team kind of had their setup based on sponsorship money. But the fact that we were able to get a conversation with anybody with that heat and kind of with everything going on, because it was really either a mad dash or resting in the AC. There was not a lot of lounging and hanging out happening, which was probably, made it a little different. But definitely as an intro to us being able to come and get some content and spend time at this kind of an event was pretty cool. Really, made us test our ability to get people to spend a minute with us and try to see what we could learn and gain. And I know, at least for me, I'm going next year. No doubt at all.
No, it sounds like you had a really good time. Maybe next year people will be coming and running to us for the interviews. I think that we're becoming pretty notorious. I mean, everybody knows Slacker.
I know all my friends know me.
Yeah, I'm starting to, I guess. I'm glad that you got to share with that and that you guys got to go. Chicken Hawk, appreciate you. I always try to come up with a new name for you. So today you're going to be Bob Doik. So thanks, Bob, for going with Edison. And I can't wait to see what happens moving forward. I know that this was a little bit of a stretched episode. I think we'll get back into the cadence of things now that we're not worrying about trying to do something huge for episode 100, setting some high expectation. But it's great doing this with you.
No, and I agree. I appreciate it, man. I can't believe we've made it this far. Quite honestly, it's pretty incredible that we didn't just give up after one. It's also pretty incredible that we've had so many people listen that we have, because I think we're idiots. So appreciate everybody joining along.
We know that.
It's not even a thought at this point. We know. But no, it's been fun. It's been an awesome journey. And yeah, to your point, I think we've decided moving forward on a bi-weekly standard. I think that's something we can keep up with, we can run with, and still have time to wrench and ride and fit it all in, and still spend time with family, because the moto community and family are really what we like to represent and bring together. So keep an ear out. We'll have some events. We'll have things going on. We'll try to bring more content like the track day, where we're getting more than just Brad and I spouting garbage at each other, and a lot more content from the community. And so appreciate everybody. It's been an awesome 100 episodes. Keep with us. Keep an eye out for the next one here in 2 weeks, and check us out on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere you can find us. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Cue fireworks now. Until next time, ride on.